Well, good morning to everyone. Today, this is my first attempt at filming something for YouTube as far as a car repair. And what I have, and I'll try to be as steady as I can, is my 99 Honda Accord EX 2-door coupe, or depending on where you're from, coupe, that has a problem with the passenger side door actuator. When the days are warm, the door lock operates just fine, but when it gets cold outside, it won't unlock unless you physically unlock it. So if you use the remote control, it will not unlock. If you go inside and use the switch, it might or it might not unlock. Usually it does, but anytime I use the remote. So from what I can tell, what you have is an actuator that's going bad. I've taken numerous Hondas and Toyotas apart and have found this a relatively easy process, but you're going to need a few things, and preferably a warm day. I've also learned that when you take these things apart, they are plastic. Things do have a tendency to break. So I've got a couple of things that I do to hopefully alleviate that problem. But let's go over here and I'll show you some of the basic tools. First of all, I have the actuator. I have a tendency to go OEM on this, and since this is the passenger door, the part number from Honda 72115-S84-A11. I have a little dielectric grease. I usually get a large tube of it from any of the auto stores, and I'll show you why I use that later. A little WD-40. The headlight, I always like those when you're in cramped spaces. That way you have both hands free. A nice flashlight. Standard screwdriver. Panel puller. Phillips screwdriver. And you'll probably need two different sizes. That's a number 2. A number 3 will be for the screws that actually hold the actuator in the door. If you try and use a number 2, you might strip those out, and they're in fairly tight. Smaller screwdriver, a number 10 socket, razor blade knife, and for those large screws I was talking about in the door that might be a little difficult to get out, I have a nice Bosch impactor with a number 3 Phillips in it. That took those screws out rather nicely without stripping anything. The heads have a tendency to strip. And then a couple of extensions and a rag, and of course your favorite beverage, maybe a cup of coffee. Alright, so let's get started here. Oh, on the part situation, I do have a tendency to use parts either, say, from Honda or Beck Arnley, Borg Warner, suspension parts, Moog, Borg Warner. But I do have a tendency to use OEM in this case, because once you do this, I don't want to do it again. Alright, so here on the door, the first thing I removed, I went ahead and took this off. Let me see if I can get in here and get a good glimpse of that. There was this small panel that's held in by clips. Now, the first thing that I did is I pulled back here and then pulled straight out. And what that reveals is the electrical connector to the power windows. Now, if you look at this, you're backwards. You'll see the 2 clips. Now, I also have a tendency when I get ready to put these back, put a little lithium grease on these, so the next time they come out, you don't break a bunch of plastic. And I can guarantee you at some point or another you're going to break a little plastic piece. It will definitely mess up your day. I also took out, there was a small push clip right here. That one took a regular screwdriver. There was actually a small space in it. I was able to pop it out, and then I was able to use that orange panel remover to get up under there and pop that out. And there were 2 screws. One here, and then one at the bottom there. And they were 2 slightly different screws. So make sure that when you remove those, that you put those back in the same order. I then took this screw out. I'm sorry, I'd already taken this screw out. Then I have to pull this forward a little bit. And you'll see there's a connector there. That connector is for the switch. It's up underneath. And you, excuse me, push down on this clip right here and slide it out. Now, I was talking earlier about using the dielectric grease. It's not absolutely necessary, but I find that these plastic pieces are extremely difficult to get out at times, and you don't want to go tugging on the wires. So I put a little dielectric grease on either side and right there on the terminals. And if you have to take it out again, it makes it so much easier. I do it in all my radios and anything where there might be moisture, but in this case it's more convenience. Now if you look right here, let's see if I can get in there. There's a little clip right there. You see that little clip? Now normally that's fastened, it's further this way. It's sitting like this. That little clip keeps the rod from popping out. And they have a tendency to break on you quite frequently. So what I do is I squirt a little silicone spray or WD-40 on that little clip and take my screwdriver and gently push it back. So now that I've pushed it back, it rotates. I can then pull my little rod out. Alright, once I get this piece out, I can then start removing my panel. Now, this is where I don't have a photographer assistant, so I'm going to stop this for a second, pull that rod out. Okay, as you can see, this is looking from the top down. That's where the rod went. It was snapped on to keep it from popping off. I used a little WD-40, lubed it up, popped that off, and then pulled that rod straight up. And that leaves me with this panel. Now there's the connection over here. That's for the power door switch, or the lock. So then that leaves me with this. Now make sure you put your parts where you won't step on them. Been known to do that. And I'm going to start to remove this panel. Now I went ahead and started doing this. Oops. Sorry, didn't mean to hit the focus there. So what I've done, there are these plastic push clips underneath here. And I start here with my fingers and start pulling very gently. Again, it's better to do this on a warm day or when it's nice and warm. When it's cold, these things are brittle. I've been known to break a few of these. And I pull out, and as you can see, all along the bottom, work your way. Be careful, don't cut your fingers. Work your way around till you get up to here. My window is up, and then I should be able to lift this straight up by working it very gently. Now what's going to happen is, again, I don't have a photographer assistant, so I'm going to stop this. Okay, now if you look, you're going to see one connector. I'm looking from the top down. One connector there. That goes to the window. See if I can get to it better. There we go. Goes to the window switch. And the other connector goes to the little interior light. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those. Okay, so here's the one clip that went up under, and it was a little difficult to see, that was up under the power window switch, and you have to push this tab here. You just kind of have to feel for it right there. Push that down and pop it out. The light bulb is nothing more than a twist to the left and it pops out. Now I'm going to turn this around so you can see where all the pop rivets are. Lay this down gently. So here is forward, and you can see the location of all the little plastic clips that hold things together. You know that's forward because that's where the speaker is. Work your way around, you see all the little plastic clips. Now that's the upper edge which slides between the panel and the glass. It just slides down. So when you lift this thing up, you just lift it straight up after you've popped all the little clips. Alright, now, once I opened this, I noticed something. Someone's been in here before. And if you're good at observation, you'll notice that something's missing. Can you see what it is? It's missing the plastic splash shield, the one that keeps the water out and the wind out. So someone has been in this door before and totally removed that splash shield. Not a good idea. You want to keep that in there and keep it intact. So what we have, you see the line of glue. Now actually, when I glue these things back, I was going to show you this part where how to remove the actual plastic without tearing it. And I've seen this tip on YouTube too. What you do is you peel back the layer, like right here, and take you a razor blade knife and just kind of go right in here and cut the glue. That way you don't stretch the plastic or cut the plastic. And then slowly peel that back. Well, sometimes, as you can see, this stuff has been in there a while and it wouldn't glue back. So a couple things you can do. I understand that there's a product called Dum Dum that you can get. You know, I go to the auto parts stores and I've asked them about Dum Dum and they look at me like I'm a dum dum. They don't know what I'm talking about. I've seen it before because you can wrap it around air conditioning system tubes. It's flexible, it stays flexible, but it molds and it stays on there, moisture resistant. So since I can't find any Dum Dum, I just go to Lowe's, Home Depot, two of my favorite stores, and I pick up a small $5 or $6 tube of that silicone caulk that you use in like bathrooms and kitchen sinks, the clear caulk. And it's very nice. You go ahead and put that on. You can reseal things. You might have to hold it for a couple of minutes till it sets. And it's nice clear silicone. It's fairly easy to remove the next time around. So again, if you can't find the Dum Dum, that's the next best thing. Oh, another trick too. Remember I told you about plastic pieces? So here's the rod that actually operates part of the lock mechanism. I also take my WD-40 and spray those. I've broken one or two of these. Again, something you gotta have. It really makes for a bad day. And then when I'm done, I also put a little bit of grease in there, maybe lithium grease or standard axle grease, to kind of keep things in place. And that way you don't break these because they're brittle. I mean, this is a 99, so this car's got some age on it. And again, I don't know why they would have taken, I haven't looked the other side, I don't know why they would have taken the entire splash shield off, but they have. And what I'm looking for, hold on, let me stop this, I'm going to get my flashlight. Alright, here we go again. So now I have my flashlight. You know, the actuator's back here. One of the things you're going to have to do is remove that bolt because it holds part of the channel for the actual glass. You'll have to remove that to get that out of the way. You'll have to disconnect a few connectors, but I'm going to get back in here and see, there's, if you can see, there's the channel I was talking about. And the white part is the actual actuator. You see that right in there. And when I get this all apart, it's on a metal plate. I'm sorry, down a little bit. The yellow part is the actuator. Let me see if I could really get in there. There you go. Down there. Yeah, down at the bottom. Alright, I'm sorry I had to stop there. The queen of my double wide, the washer of my shorts, came by and interrupted the filming. So again, let me show you. Alright, so you see the yellow, there's the white, that's part of the mechanism for the door lock, and the actuator is the yellow part below there, and you'll see the rail in the way. And if you look where the light's directed, you'll see there's a couple of connectors. Let's see, they're gray. Let's see if I can get up under there and get a better shot. Right there where that light is shining. You'll see right there. There's one connector and there's one below it. You can see the wires coming out. Now, I also wanted to double check and make sure that I do have the correct part. So when I set that up right, it'll look like this inside, which it did. So I know I have the correct part, right versus left. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start removing some items. I'm going to go ahead and take the, oops, if you can see there's a clip right there. no, kind of just out of reach of the camera. Maybe if I turn this way. There we go. There's a little white clip there, so I'm going to spray that with some WD-40. Get in there and take this rod out, and then I'll do the two areas here and here. Okay, so I removed that rod. There was the white clip back there that was taken off like the other clip. Just remember which way this goes. So if the door is up, it's going to go like this. There's where the door handle would be. Run along this way. This is where it's inside the door, and it's going to come toward you. So one clip will snap over there. The other clip would snap over at this end. So I'm just going to, pardon the messy garage, but I'm going to lay it down this way. And like I say, I'll grease this up a little bit. It just makes things work a little bit better in the long run. So let's go back over here. I sprayed with some WD-40. Got things taken apart. I'm now getting to an area where I need to start removing the 10 millimeter bolt. So I'm going to do that next. Okay, I'm back. Had some difficulties, but let me show you what I had to do. I did go ahead and remove the channel. It just slid right out from the top. And the problem was the assembly has to come out, and the assembly wouldn't come out until I could remove the rod. Might be hard to see. See, I can't really get up in there. Let's see. There you go. Now, you see that plastic pop rivet or pin right there? Well, until that came out, and that's the door handle and the plastic mechanism, until the rod came out of there, you couldn't get the assembly out. Now, that's like a push snap. Once you push it in, it snaps on. Well, how do you get it out? Well, that required a little effort on my part. I had to think about it. So let me come down here, and if you see this rod, this is the piece. Now it is threaded, so don't thread it or unthread it and increase or decrease the length. But you see right here, that pushes through. Well, it has flanges. So what I did is I WD-40'd it from the front and the back, and WD-40'd to the front as best it could because it's really out of place. But you see this part snaps in right there. So what I did is I had to get 2 more screwdrivers, and I went ahead and got a larger screwdriver, something a little beefier, and then right in here I would go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and wiggle that out. Now remember that hinge piece on the door handle is plastic, so you don't want to put too much tension on there. But because I put the WD-40 on there, it was a little bit easier. But you have to get this out in order to get the assembly out to go through and replace everything. Now I tried to remove, I probably could have done it if I could have removed the guard, that white guard. But what you don't see, unless you have a mirror, is there's a nut right there. Now there's a piece up here that right there, there's a little tab that goes under like this. That's easy. But it's actually seeing and getting a screwdriver to that. If you're really, really good, you can do that. And on that particular screw, a number 2 Phillips would work. Now there are some smaller screws I've already taken out here, here, and here. I'm sorry. Here, here, and here to undo this assembly. Those are going to require like a number 1 Phillips. Very, very small, very, very soft. Again, if you can sight things up, because you're looking at it this way, from inside the car, it's very difficult because you're looking this way. It's difficult to see that there's a screw there. And you might get lucky. So a lot of times what I do is I magnetize the end of my screwdriver. Got one of those little magnetizers from Radio Shack years ago, and that helps. But boy, it's a bear to line all this stuff up. So to me, it's easier just to go ahead and pull the whole assembly out. Now this rod here was also behind this, and there was another one of the clips that I lubed up with the WD-40 also, and it's kind of behind everything. A little bit difficult to get to, but not too bad. Oh, another trick too is I also have a long screwdriver that's like a cabinet called a make a screwdriver. Now it's like this and it's about this long, but it's much thinner. It's good for getting back there and getting those clips. Okay, so I've moved the cover. As you can see, I took the one screw out. Now this is the assembly you want to take out. Oh, also notice there are some waterproof neoprene gaskets in there. Don't forget to put those back in. That's what makes it difficult to get those plugs out. It required a lot of finger strength. Alright, and you can see there's another clip that keeps that rod in position. So you have to remember to make sure that you undo that clip. Okay, I'm sorry, I stand corrected there. That's if you want to remove that clip. Now, in order to remove, and I've already taken the 3 screws out, I did that a little bit earlier, I've got to remove this assembly. And if you look very carefully, you'll see this white stem right down here, and you've got a little bit of a edge right here, so you'll lift it up and slip it off that pin. Now you want to make sure when you put this thing back together it's on that pin, otherwise it's not going to work. Now I can just jiggle a little bit and it'll probably fall off on second thought. Alright. Okay, again, I'm doing this holding a camera and doing this, so just turn a little bit and it'll lift up underneath. Okay, so again you have to make sure that this is over the pin in order for things to work correctly. So this is what it looks like. And there's the little pin right there that it's going to have to go over. Okay, so now I've transferred those gaskets over, and you see the 3 screws that actually mount it to the door latch mechanism. 1, 2, 3. These are also the screws that are the #1 Phillips. Very soft, so be very careful there. I went ahead and lubricated. I'm going to lubricate that area there, but I've lubricated here, and I lubricated under here where the pin is, and then lubricated the back side of this. A little white lithium grease. And like I say, I'll do that. Then I'm going to put on the white plastic guard. Okay, so I'm about ready to put this thing back in. So I just have to put a little dielectric grease in there. I'll put some more in the plug so it'll slide a little easier. You know, I put grease behind the 2 fittings there. I've put some grease here. I've put some grease here. That's also one of the rods that goes up to the door handle. And of course, let me get here. Right there. That's the one that goes in the door handle proper that you have to wedge out very carefully. So I'm going to put it all back in. Alright, let's see if I can get some shots of this. Alright, so remember, way up here, that's the rod I was talking about. And it certainly presses in a lot easier than it does coming out. So that pressed in. And then this rod here, you can see the green clip. Okay, push that in, and even lubed it a little bit. Snap the clip on. Put the 3 screws back in that hold this, and that comes from the other side, and that holds it into place. And then I'm going to probably go ahead and connect the power to see if everything is operating as it should. Okay, now once I got that channel back in, of course I tightened this bolt up, and the best way to see how to fit the channel in is to kind of peek through here, peek through here and peek down here, peek through here, and I was able to slide it up in there. And then of course I put some silicone in the grooves. You then have to hook up the door panel temporarily to get in there and operate the window because it has the switch. Unless you pull the switch out, but then you run the risk of breaking all those little plastic tabs. And I went ahead and put this rod back in, and way back in the back, see if I can say, you can see that white clip right in there, and that fastened that. I went ahead and put some white lithium grease there, and then on these guides put some more white lithium grease. Alright, and then when I put the door handle back on and the door panel, that'll hook up to that. Also, I won't forget to reattach my little where is it, my little light. But what I'm going to do for now, until I get that shield, I'm probably going to leave this door panel off. You know, that shield prevents a lot of air leakage too. I always wondered why the car was a little bit on the cool side. Alright, so other tools that I think I probably should have told you about. I had a little small pick, like I said, a beefier screwdriver, and a number 1 Phillips. I did test the window. It's going up and down, no problems there. I don't know who opened this panel before, but that does not look like somebody had installed better speakers. Those look like the factory installed speakers that you get, so I don't think they opened this door to work on speakers. Okay, I decided to go ahead and just pull the old actuator apart, see if there's anything in there mysterious or broken, and I don't really see anything out of the ordinary. I see the little, helical gear and that sprocket. Usually you see, broken plastic pieces. I don't see anything, and of course, a little motor. I think the motor was just failing. And to kind of date myself, and way back in the 60s when I was a kid, I had an AC Gilbert erector set, and it had a little motor like this, very similar to this, powered by 2 D-cell batteries. Yeah, I am old, and I remember that little motor vividly. So again, I don't see anything spectacular that says there was a broken gear. I've seen that in some of the window regulators. I've redone a Ford Explorer, and the window regulators, all that plastic just aged and cracked. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. So I'm thinking this little motor has just seen better days. Again, this is a 99. That's probably original. And it doesn't look like somebody had replaced this before. So, again, that's what this little bad boy looks like on the inside. See the black weather seal there. Oh, I forgot to mention, when I was taking this apart too, this has obviously been exposed to some kind of moisture, because you can see right there some rust. That one particular screw was rusted. So let's see, perspective wise, it was sitting, oops, there goes the motor. It was sitting that way, so the rusty screw would have been to the outside right there. So sometime or another it got exposed to water. Okay, well, I finished this project. I wasn't going to go through putting the panel back on, since it's pretty easy to get off, kind of self-explanatory, but everything's back on. Now, since the vapor barrier was gone, I went ahead and just made my own. If I'm correct, I was looking on a discount site for the Honda OEM, and it was like $130. That seems a bit stiff. I could have been looking at the wrong part, but in either case, I had some 6mm plastic left over that I used to line my trailer with whenever I went to get gravel. And then I went to O'Reilly's and picked up this 3M sealant caulk. Alright, 3M strip caulk. Now they're like 60 pieces, all about a foot long. You can mold it, it stays flexible, and this is probably what they were talking about at the dealership that I had a long time ago, or the Dum Dum, but it just dealership Dum Dum happened to be thicker, but this is the stuff to use. So I scraped off all that old nasty glue or whatever was on there from the original job in Honda, and put that on there, and then I laid a piece of plastic over it. I took a sharp knife, well, in this case a razor blade knife, trimmed it all around, made it nice and neat, cut the holes where the appropriate wires had to come through, and rod, and very gently put things back together, and now things are working. Again, the true test is going to be the next very cold day to see if this thing opens. Alrighty. A couple other things though that you need to know is, whenever you're messing inside any of this sheet metal, be very careful. It'll slice your fingers in a heartbeat. So if you have to wear gloves or pad those edges, do so. It will really slice your fingers. I'd like to give a shout out to some help that I've had in the past. I use justanswer.com an awful lot. I have a subscription to that, and I make contact with different mechanics when I need answers to some of my questions. And the person I use the most for the Honda is Hondaman, HONDA-MAN, and he's very, very good. Has responded to all my questions, given me a lot of insight. As a matter of fact, he gave me the insight to the 3M caulk strips. Again, I do like Just Answer. I use them on my Toyotas. I use them on my Hondas, my Fords. I do have a small fleet of cars. And I just think special recognition for Honda Man. Also, if you're on the YouTube scene, Eric the Car Guy. He has his own website. I've subscribed to him. Have even done a timing belt, balancing belt change from one of his videos on a 95 Accord. That was interesting. That was I think a $17 video, well worth the $17. Oh, by the way, the 3M caulk strips was about $27 at O'Reilly's. May seem a little pricey, but I got a bunch left over for future jobs. You can even use it to seal gutters if you have to, because that's what I've used in the past. So this may be a little choppy, but I hope it helps. And always dress for the party, because I get into my grubby clothes. This is a kind of a dirty job. Thanks, and maybe I'll make another one when I do the steering rack on my 2004 Sienna XLE van.